Hello and welcome to another segment by me, your host, Samantha Heron. Since we are coming to severe weather season in Oklahoma, I wanted to paint a picture of a part of my life that really got to me during my childhood. This is the April 14th, 2012 tornado outbreak. People at the Storm Prediction Center, or SPC, noticed on day 7 that low-level moisture and a warm sector setup was firing up along the Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas borders. On day 4, all eyes were on Saturday. The SPC stated that models were agreeing that there would be strong veering winds. Veering winds means there's warm air advection. This means there is potential upward motion, aka lift. Lift is an ingredient for thunderstorms. With these thunderstorms, the SPC professionals stated that there was a chance for tornado supercells with very large hail and damaging winds. In 2012, the SPC had 4 levels of severe thunderstorms. Level 1, thunderstorms, typically non-severe. Level 2, slight, a small yet non-zero chance for damaging storms. 3, moderate, an increased level for damaging storms. Level 4, high, the highest level. This is different to today's 5 levels: marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate, and high. On day 3, SPC posted the outlook for Saturday. A slight risk reached from West Texas to southern Wisconsin. A moderate had formed in the middle of the slight in central Kansas and Oklahoma. In the outlook, there was worry for significant outbreak of tornadic storms in the moderate region. A mid-level jet brought southerly mid-level winds to the area. This could mean potentially long-lived supercells. Surface dew points were expected in the mid-60s range. This helps bring another ingredient into play: moisture. Without moisture, there is not much latent heat in the atmosphere, weakening storm threats. The final ingredient for thunderstorms is instability. This was brought forward by surface heating, and with this, the models were predicting an outbreak. The day before the event, the SPC released an outlook update. The moderate risk area had doubled to extend from North Texas to Nebraska-Iowa line, just before the South Dakota line. Within this long area of moderate, 2 high-risk areas were placed, one in central Kansas and Oklahoma, and the other in Nebraska and Iowa. The probability graphics had shown a 60% chance for severe storms in these high-risk areas. Discussion called for isolated tornadic supercells, followed by a squall line later in the day. The next day was beginning to look grim. Early morning on Saturday, the SPC had set its focus on Nebraska, with the ominous 45% tornado probability, and a large significant 45% hail probability was placed over central Oklahoma to Nebraska and Iowa. But later in the morning hours, both high-risk regions were connected into a very large single area. This is the part that will always get to me, as it seems it's scarily rare for how big the high risk was, and part of me thinks it was because they knew they had strong ingredients in that day in every area. At 10 a.m., storms in southwest Kansas started to pop up, becoming more clustered around 11 a.m. A tornado watch was sent out for central Kansas and northwest Oklahoma at 10:45 in the morning. Risk probabilities were high in all categories. Since the risk was so high, the watch was a PDS watch, or a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch. This watch called for destructive tornadoes, hail up to 4 inches in diameter, and 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And I'm going to tell you, right now, as a kid scared of storms, that day felt off. At 11 a.m., the 45% tornado probability had reached further down into central Kansas. The SPC stood by their claims of strong tornadic storms later in the day. At noon, a similar tornado watch had been posted for southeast Nebraska. During the early afternoon hours around 1 p.m., small showers started to appear in the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma. The first tornado in western Kansas started around 2 p.m., just north of Dodge City. The tornado lasted roughly an hour and was an EF1. By 3 p.m., SPC notices a change for strong supercells from northwest Oklahoma into Kansas, where storms are starting to pop off. The first tornado warning in Oklahoma is issued for Harper and Woods County, where the storm was in rural lands before crossing into Kansas. The second warning came minutes later for Woodward and Ellis counties. This first Woodward tornado was an EF1 and moved off towards Freedom as an EF0. At 5 p.m., Woodward was yet again under fire. A tornado warning was sounded, becoming another EF0 in the town. Around 5:45, the tornado warning moved into Major and Woods counties. My parents caught the word that Winoka was in the path, and so were we. We started gathering our stuff to leave town, which is not smart to do. Please don't do this. Please find a tornado shelter plan with your family. Instead of going into the cold spider-infested shelter the town had, we decided to stay ahead of the storm and cut around. It produced a tornado, and that tornado was an EF1. As we were coming back, we saw an EF1 near Cherokee. My family didn't see it crossing the road until I asked what it was. I've never felt so scared, yet curious about it. Coming back, there were signs that were torn down and poles snapped. It was very scary, but at the same time, this isn't the scary part for my family just yet. That storm moves through Alfalfa County before leaving the state during the night, as a EF1 around 9 p.m. We were lucky to have such weaker tornadoes than what we were supposed to get that day. As we get home, we are tired and head to bed for the night. The tornado continues to produce tornadoes in Bluff City, Argonia, and Conway Springs, the highest damage being at EF2 to EF3 and Conway Springs. This storm recycled and produced another tornado around Hayesville around 11 p.m. and ended on the east side of Wichita. This is the strongest storm of the day, being called an EF4, terrifying especially at night. It continued to produce smaller tornadoes in Butler County, but weakened over that time. Another tornado in western Kansas appeared near Greensburg at around 8:30 at night. This set Greensburg in alarm as this had happened previously in 2007. Luckily, it moved to the west and avoided the town. The tornado grew to EF3 strength, passing near Felsburg and dying off near Maxville. At around 9 p.m., just after the Felsburg tornado, the St. John tornado began. Passing near Maxville, the tornado passed eerily close to St. John and continued, passing close to Hudson and Raymond. This tornado was an EF3 and lasted 42 miles. I'm woken up at midnight. My mom is telling me to get ready, as Dad is getting around to pull up the 2001 Buick we had. I'm getting my shoes on, as I'm confused as what's going on. I thought it was over. I peek at the TV screen in the living room. A line of storms is barreling at us. There's a tornado warning in Woodward. Mom tells Dad her head is splitting, and we leave for the storm shelter. It's cold and dark. The sky was dark black, and the rain was heavy as they walked me back to the shelter. Some of my neighbors were there, and they called me over to them. My parents and some of my neighbors were trying to figure out why some of the older neighbors weren't there yet. They, as a group, proceeded to go and collect them. As a kid, it was terrifying as you don't know where the tornado was, especially at night. My parents could be swept away, and I wouldn't know. Luckily, they came back with the elders, and we breathed out a sigh of relief. We closed the door. Bang, bang, bang. The door is being hit. We open it as it sounded like someone on the other side. We have this neighbor where most things don't face him. Tornadoes are under that list. So seeing him standing there was an absolute shock. I'm pretty sure the adults soiled themselves seeing that. Luckily for us, the tornado didn't make it to us. Unfortunately though, for some, that night will change their lives forever. 6 lives were claimed in that tornado in Woodward. This tornado was an EF3 that swept the west side of the town, which held multiple trailer homes. Alright, that is the April 14th, 2012 outbreak that lives in my heart and mind forever. I'm glad I got to open up about this event and talk to you about my personal account that day. I didn't get too much into the science behind the tornadoes since I want to save that for another podcast, and if I'm wrong on any of this information, please let me know as I can learn from this. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up and I'll see you on the next disaster. Bye!